Welcome to Live, Love, Engage, the podcast where we share practical advice from a spiritual perspective on how to create a life and business with more impact, influence, and income. I am your host, Gloria Grace Rand, the Insightful Copywriter and founder of the Love Method. My mission is to help you stop doubting yourself so you can live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically. Namaste. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and I am delighted to be with you on this Monday. And I am here again with another edition, a live edition of Live, Love, Engage. And today we're going to be talking about forgiveness, and in particular, forgiveness of ourselves. And this was brought home to me. The subject, the inspiration for this subject came about last Friday when I had to practice some forgiveness of myself. So I was scheduled to record an interview for a podcast. I was going to be a guest on someone else's podcast talking about public speaking. And I had a meeting with someone else Oh, oops, there we go. Looks like I got a little wonky internet connection today. Anyway, so the interview was scheduled at 4:00. And unfortunately, what happened was that I was, even though the host of the podcast was great, sent me reminders, so I knew about it, had it on my calendar. I was on a call previous to that. We got done with the call at 4:00. And for some reason, I thought that the interview wasn't until 4:30. So I went ahead and threw some makeup on. I'm, getting all set. I got my lighting ready for the interview, came back, sat down, and saw in my email that, because I was trying to find the link to connect to the interview, that the interview had been canceled. And I'm like, oh crap. And it's like, oh shoot, it was at 4:00. It was at 4:00. And I think what had happened was was figuring that my previous phone call was only going to take half an hour. And so I would have time. I would have a half an hour in between to get ready for the interview. So that's what totally went through my head. So I was so mad at myself. Have you ever experienced that? I was so mad at myself for breaking my commitment. I said I was going to show up. I, had been in email contact with this person, and I said I was going to be there, and then I'd show up late. And as a podcast host myself, I've had that experience where guests don't show up, and it's very frustrating. And I could certainly understand why he would do that, why he would just cancel it. The guest is 15 minutes late or 20 minutes late, whatever it was. So anyway, I frantically got onto Zoom and I sent him an email apologizing and all of this. And, and I didn't hear anything. So I went and finally got off of Zoom. I went to get a glass of water, and I was just really, I just was getting down on myself for this. And then I realized, I'm like, okay, wait, I can keep focusing on this, or maybe I can reframe this idea and come about it from a different perspective, because it's not going to do me any good to continue to just beat up on myself for making a mistake. I'm human. We make mistakes, don't we? We all make mistakes. And so I stopped myself and said, okay, let me think about this for a minute. Maybe this just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be today for whatever reason. Maybe I'm not meant to be on this show. I don't know, but just let it go. And or maybe the person will come back to me and we'll be able to reschedule. But it wasn't doing me any good to just beat up on myself for being human and making a mistake. All you can do when you make a mistake is you make amends. And that's what I did. I sent him a couple emails and just apologizing. So a little time went by, probably about an hour or so, and I went back up on my computer because I had to feed the dogs in the meantime. And sure enough, there was an email from this lovely podcast host, and he said, "Oh, no worries, that happens. Things happen all the time. Just go ahead and click on my schedule link, and we'll get you back on the schedule." So that was a good lesson for me, and I hope for you listening and or watching this today, whether on Facebook or on YouTube, that it doesn't do any good to continue to punish ourselves when we make mistakes, because everybody makes mistakes. And as long as you own up to the mistake and you do apologize, then generally most people are going to be okay with that. And they're going to understand, and they are going to accept your apology, hopefully, and move on. And but staying in this negative energy doesn't work. And I think in particular why I heard back from him was the fact that I was able to reframe it. Because frankly, I think if I'd stayed in a gloom and doom mood, that, you know, we tend to, we attract what we put out, I believe. And so if I had stayed in that negative frame, it's very possible that I would not have heard back from that gentleman, and I would have lost that opportunity. But because I did step back, I took a breath, and I said, okay, let's think about this a little bit. Let's not continue to beat myself up, that it would be okay. And sure enough, he was very nice, and I was able to get the opportunity to reframe, or to reschedule, I should say. So what I love also was yesterday, one of the things I love to read every day is I subscribe to the Daily Word from Unity. And yesterday's Daily Word was perfect because I'm going to put the number one is the affirmation that it was. The Daily Word was forgive. And the affirmation that they put up is, or that they suggest to use is, I extend forgiveness to myself. So I thought I would share this as well today, is to share this brief reading with you, because it, again, it's such an important lesson to remember. So it says, throughout my life, I have forgiven those who have hurt and disappointed me. In turn, I have been grateful when others extended understanding and forgiveness to me. Even though I have learned to be forgiving with others, I may still find it difficult to forgive myself for mistakes I've made, and disappointments I have caused, and commitments I have broken. Today, I open my heart, and with love and compassion, I forgive myself. I remind myself that everyone makes mistakes and deserves understanding and forgiveness, even me. I remember how the prodigal son's father received him with joy when he came home. This joy is mine when I let go of self-condemnation and finally come home to myself. And then they have a reading from that story about the prodigal son here. It's from Luke 15:20. It says, but while he was still far off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. So I always love that the universe does provide these signs for me. And so it took 2 days, but it was perfect, because I had already decided that I wanted to share this story on today's podcast, and then to be able to then have that as well, to have the Daily Word be talking about extending forgiveness to ourselves. It was just divine order. And that's another thing I would recommend for anyone listening today and watching, is to always remember that really, I do believe that everything happens in divine order. And when we can hold on to that and really understand that, life happens not to us, but for us, it's a good way to go about life. It's a good way to be able to move through and be able to have more happiness and joy and fulfillment in our lives. So before I leave you today, I would like to extend an invitation to you. If you have ever had trouble with forgiving yourself, maybe you've struggled with, beating yourself up, and you don't know how to be able to reframe it as quickly as I was able to do within a matter of minutes, I encourage you to schedule some time to talk with me. If you go to engagewithgloria.com, and I will actually, I'm going to put this up here. Go to engagewithgloria.com. And what you'll do is you will be able to schedule an appointment to speak with me, and we'll have a conversation and see if there's a possibility, whether or not you even want to work with me or not, but just to see if I can help you. So I would love to be able to chat with you. So again, go to engagewithgloria.com for that. And until next time, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.